Hello guys and welcome to another video. Today we are finally putting the new brake pads on the front discs and we're also replacing the brake fluid ready for the weekend coming when we're at MIMMS, because we're on track at 9 o'clock in the morning, so I want to make sure the car's ready and prepped. It's absolutely filthy because we haven't washed it since Japfest, but I'm going to wash it the day before MIMMS so it's nice and fresh, ready to go. My dad's going to help me out doing the change because I've never changed brake fluid before. I haven't done that before. We could do pads, but at least now, because there's two of us, we could do it twice as fast, especially in this heat because it is absolutely roasting. If you haven't seen my last video, the new Kickstarter has started. It's been on for a few days now. It's now on individual items, so if you want to go on there and if you want to get an FN2 t-shirt or you want to get an FN2 red hoodie, then go on the Kickstarter page, have a look. If you like the price of it and you do want one, do a pledge. You don't have to pay till the end of the 30 days finish if we hit the target, so fingers crossed. But yeah, just thought I'd give you a reminder before we carry on. So we're going to jack it up with jacks on either side, put it on some jack stands, make sure it's all up in the air. Crack the wheel nuts off first and we'll get started.
Go on, you keep going, I'll keep with you.
Right, so that's all four corners jacked up now. We're going to take all of the wheels off, simply because when we're doing the brake fluid we need to get to all four corners even though we're only doing the front pads, so that's why we need to get them all off. So all the nuts are already broken, so it's going to be nice and easy, and we can get started. I just thought I'd show you as well, whilst we've got the car up, why the jacking points, the ones that we use, because obviously you've got the jacking points on the sill for normally, but where we've put the axle stands, we can show you where they are. Are they my nuts you've just thrown at ground?
I didn't throw them.
You better not have.
I didn't.
Alright, so underneath there's literally, it's a bush, isn't it, on the lower, is it lower control arm?
Yeah, rear bush.
Yeah, rear bush on the lower control arm. It's rounded, perfect for a jack stand. So we've got one on that side and one on the other side, just there. And then on the back, one of a good advantage of having a torsion beam on this car is that you can use it easily for your jacking points on there as well, so you just got one on either end of the torsion beam. Simple as that. And then as you can see, all four wheels are off the ground safely. So then guys, we've got the car on full right hand lock so you can get access to the actual caliper itself. You've got your 2 points here where you'd normally take off to get to the actual pads. I've just been speaking to my dad and apparently we can, if you want, take this bottom one off and keep this one above so you can swing it up to replace the pad. What you're going to need a 19mm as well as a 12mm. 19mm to get under here and hold the slider still, and then you've got to use your 12mm to take the actual bolt off. So I've got a bad feeling these are going to be pretty tight. Oh no, I'm too scared of smashing floor. Bridge on it. Come on, you have a bash. Watch this 2-second job. Because you're not scared of breaking anything.
I'm not going to break anything.
Wow.
Years of experience.
Yeah. Years of breaking nuts.
Leave that.
This comes away.
Tilt your caliper up, yeah, pull it up. Just pull it up. Nah, tap it into the car, towards car. Go on.
All the way out?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, but look at this rubber bush.
It should come apart.
Oh, like that.
Yeah, like that.
Oh, wow. Has that got like
That's
oil
got
on it
grease
though?
It's got grease, yeah.
Are we alright doing that?
Yeah, slip back in and it seals back up.
Well, that's why then the people take both bolts off, because it keeps the rod in there, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's the difference.
But that's easier because you can slide the top one in and then you lower it down and put your bottom bolt in.
Yeah. So if you're confident enough, do that. If you're not, then do them both. But you've had years of doing it, so you're fine, aren't you? Yeah. So the pads we're going to be using are these PBS pads. I've heard very, very good things about them. All I ever get is recommendations for these. I were looking at things like the Ferodo pads, they're highly rated. I were looking at them. There's also EBC, I think it is. They do like the yellow stuff, red stuff, that kind of thing. But I've always been redirected to look at these, so I'm really excited to see if there's any feel difference or anything like that. If anything, the main difference is going to be a lot less fade with something like this compared to OEM pads. So that's what we're aiming for. Before we put these new pads on, we were just looking. There's a bit of a lip on the disc itself. Bearing in mind we're putting fresh pads on. From what I've researched, having the lip on the disc itself and then putting fresh pads on, the lip can, I won't say so much damage, but quickly wear the edges of the pad down because you're not putting fresh discs on with fresh pads. So a good way to do that, to get rid of that, is you can actually grind the lip off so that it's flush again with the disc, just to make sure that there's nothing else scraping on the edges of the pad at all. What we're going to do is we're going to take this carrier off of the caliper. You've got two bolts right behind, the bigger ones here. There's one down there and one up there, as you can just see. What inch were they, Dad?
17 mil.
17 inch. Why did I say inch?
Mil. Inch.
The 17 to take them off, and then you should be able to take that away, and then we can rotate the disc where we need it to be to grind it off. We are just going to use a hand grinder, angle grinder, whatever you want to call it, just to take that off. So that's the carrier removed. You've got two metal shims in there. Sometimes when you get fresh pads, they come with some, but these ones don't. So we're just going to keep these ones, brush them up a little bit, and put the fresh pads in so they've still got some to use. Right, so we've just done a little bit of test run on the other side so I can get used to how to do it. But I'm just going to show you about grinding this lip off. I would highly recommend using some eye protection. You should do it at all times. I forgot my normal goggles that I use, so I'm having to use sunglasses, which I don't recommend. Get some proper clear protective goggles, if anything. But it's going to be working side onto the disc. We found it's better doing it in sections instead of trying to do it all at once. And you can just match each section up. Have it as flat as you can to the disc itself, so you're not having some kind of chamfer on the edge of the disc. And then just do smooth motions up and down until you can't feel a lip anymore with your finger. That's your best bet. Right guys, so we've got the carrier back on. It's now time to put the pads into the carrier. Now we have got some copper grease on them. I've seen a lot online that there's a lot of, I won't say confusion, but different opinions on whether you should use copper grease or not on your pads. We've got them on the edges and on the backs of the pads. On this one you've got in two separate places because that's where the two contact points are on the front of the caliper. And then on this one you've got a large area for where the piston's going to be pushing up against it. As long as none of that's on your pads itself, that is absolutely fine. What you've got to think is there's going to be a moving part pressing on that, and it just helps to avoid corrosion. There's going to be no problems with it at all. My dad's done it for nearly 30 years working on cars, and I'd rather trust that than somebody over the internet I don't know. So that's me telling you. Right then, so now that they're on, the next thing we need to do is make sure that the caliper actually fits over the new pads. The pads are going to have more thickness on them because they've not been worn at all. So we've got to push the piston back in so that the caliper fits back over them. You can get a piston, like a pushback tool that you can to do that, but we're going to use these. And that's about it. Some of them are a screw, but this can be pushed back in with pressure. What we've done is my dad's already done the other side. A good tip is to take the the cap off the reservoir, the brake fluid reservoir in the engine bay, because then any kind of pressure that needs to come out will come through there instead of trying to go back into the other caliper or anything like that on the other side of the car. So, attempt number one.
Gentle squeeze.
A gentle squeeze?
Yeah, gentle squeeze. It'll go.
I'm doing an hard squeeze there.
Ooh, might be seized. It's coming back.
Thing. Is it doing it?
It's coming back. It's just a bit tight, that's all. Just got to get some elbow grease. There, look. It's not seized, that.
Oh, for God's sake.
Just tight.
It's like, you know when you don't know what's going to happen,
yeah.
So you can't, for some reason your body doesn't let you use all your...
We're just tight. That's not seized.
Showing up number two. that's all back on, set to go. Hopefully at some point we're going to brush these down and get them painted, but at the minute functionality is priority. Now we can move on to changing the brake fluid. This is basically my dad's makeshift bleeding setup. It's basically a Pepsi can with an inner tube from a bike in there, so you can put that on the nipple, excuse me, and bleed it into this. You can get kits if you are wanting one that you can buy online, I'm sure you can, but this works just the same. Right, just to let you know as well, I have never done this before. I've probably already said that, but it's something I need to learn. So I was just speaking to my dad. We're going to start on the, what were it, the first, the driver's side wheel.
Yeah, we're just going to go caliper nearest to your reservoir.
Yeah.
So we're going to flush that through, and then work his way away from the reservoir. Right,
because the longer lines as you move further away.
Yep.
Okie dokie. So the oil that we're going to be, the brake fluid that we're going to be using is Mortal RBF 600. That's focused brilliantly, that. .4 racing fluid. It's just a higher boiling point fluid, just because obviously when we're on track it's going to be getting very hot because we're going to be braking really harshly. So a higher boiling point is so that we don't get any air bubbles in the system. Once you get air bubbles in the system, you lose your brakes, and that's the last thing we want.
All I like to say is, I'll just give you the readings.
Go on.
So if you want boiling point when it's dry, you've got 312 Celsius, but if it's wet, it's 205 Celsius.
What do you mean between wet and dry? Do you mean
wet driving and dry driving, because the temperature's different. So on a hot day, your boiling point's going to be higher.
Oh, right, okay.
And on a cold day, it's going to be lower.
Makes sense.
Because of the temperature.
So the bleed nipple is just there. What mill's that?
It's 10 mil.
10 mil.
What we normally use is a thin rubber hose that push over there and go into the bottle. We don't have one of those.
No.
So
we're making do with that.
Using a bit of
in a tube,
and that'll just let the fluid run in, so we don't get it all over the floor. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Which means I'm gonna have to do a bit of pumping to get it through the system.
You're gonna have to pump, and I'm gonna have to top up.
I'll just show you as well. I know that my brake fluid was at the minimum line. It's now near the top of the reservoir completely. That shows you when we pressed in the pistons before to get the new pads in, that's how much air got displaced up to the top through the system. So that's why it's good to keep that off when you're pushing the pistons back in. So the technique that we need to do with the bleeding nipple is basically, I'm going to get in the car, well, I'm going to put my foot in the car on the brake. Whilst I put the brake down, that needs to be open to pump the fluid through.
Yep.
Once I've got my foot down, we'll close the valve, then I bring my foot back up, I release the pedal, and that doesn't suck any air back into the system, and then we open it back up, and it keeps repeating, so that we're constantly putting fluid through and not bringing air back in.
Yep. Right. Dad, you drop down?
What?
Has it gone to the floor?
No. It's going slowly.
Yeah. Your nipple's blocked. We've got a blocked nipple. Oh. Doesn't matter, we'll do it a different way.
Right. I'm not in car yet. Right, luckily whilst we were pumping it out, undoing the thread behind the nipple, with it trickling down the caliper, it actually went loose really quickly and the nipple came free. There was nothing in it, it completely cleared. So then we just carried on doing the normal routine whilst topping the reservoir up at the same time, constantly topping it up to the maximum point. That's come through clear now. Just topping a bit more up to do the other corners. We're going to do each other corner in the same method, and then that should be everything finished. So guys, sorry I didn't properly end the video. It's been a few days now. I wouldn't say I've properly bedded the pads in yet. I've not really done any hard braking or anything, but just through like daily commutes, feeling the difference in the responsiveness of the brakes, and the feel is just 10 times better than OEM pads. And that's only on the fronts, remember. So eventually when the rear pads start going down, then we can swap them to the same brand, and they should then be spot on. Oh, 1 second, I forgot to mention something. I'm thinking I might actually brave it this time, and I'm going to do the tire lettering with the pen. I couldn't find my pen, so I reordered another one, and then I found the old one, so now I have two. So I thought it'd just be fun that I'll take one with me to MIMMS, and if you do see me, and if you quote because race car, let's go with that. Because what other reason why would you ever put this on? There's no enhancement other than visuals. So yeah, if you want that extra 2 horsepower, come up to me and quote because race car, and if you're the first person, then I will give you the pen for free to use however you want on your car, on your face. It's yours, you do what you want. Anyway, thank you for watching this video, guys. If you do like this video and you like any of my other videos, please click the subscribe button and click the little bell so it reminds you when a fresh video comes on my channel. I try to upload every Thursday evening at 5 PM as a minimum. I'll see you at MIMMS if you're going, and until next time, guys, like I always say, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. Right, what are you going to say?
Hi, Lou.
Oh, I'm here. You don't say alright, Lou, to them. Say hello to them.
Hello, subscribers!
Oh, God. I can't wait to feel these.
You see that camera?
In general. Why? I wasn't being rude. My family's disgusting. What? You are my family.
I'm not your family.
You are. That ring's on your finger, you're my family.
You